بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد.
So today we have our Fiqh Salah. We were talking about the Arkan and Wajibat and Sunnan and Fara'id. So we have different things and we are going to explain inshallah ta'ala what the differences are between these things. Of course, as we mentioned before, Salah is very important. It is what makes us Muslims. People who do not pray, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, intentionally are no longer Muslim. So this is very, very important. As per request to do how to pray on the chair. Not anyone can pray on the chair. You have to have a valid reason. Mm-hmm. And valid reason means you have a medical condition and you cannot perform Arkanul Salah the proper way. And if you can do any of those Arkanul Salah, the pillars of Salah, and those are the most important things, the things that we said you can't miss. If you miss those, any of those, your Salah is invalid. And we discussed them last week. So if you can do some of these things, like some people can do Ruku', but they cannot do Sujood, then they should do Ruku' correctly. Only when you need the chair, you use it. That's the rule. When you need it. Some people just from the beginning to the end, they are sitting on the chair. That's not allowed. Unless they really need it, like they can't move anyway. So that's important to explain in the beginning. Not anyone should be using the chair.
But how can they do Ruku' and not do Sujood? They follow each other.
No, some people can do Ruku', but they cannot do Sujood because if they do Sujood, they can't get up anymore.
That's me.
Yeah, the sujood is different from Ruku', but normally Ruku' and Qiyam are similar. If you can stand, normally you can do Ruku', and if you can do Ruku', you can stand. But if you can't do either, that's a different thing. But the point here is, you do whatever you can the right way, and whenever you need the chair, you use it. You don't use the chair unnecessarily. If it's not very important, you can't do it any other way. Of course, we're talking about the obligation prayers.
Right.
Salatul nafl, the Sunnan, you can use the chair even without an excuse. You just feel like sitting. And we said in the Sunnah, you get 50% of the reward if you are sitting on the chair without excuse. In terms of fard, if you sit on the chair without excuse, your salah is not accepted, completely invalid. So that's why we have to pay attention to that.
Okay.
So let's give the first scenario, a person who can stand up, but he cannot do Ruku' or Sujood. He has some medical problem in the back. They cannot do Ruku' or Sujood, but they can stand up. I mean, he's walking. If you are walking, you can stand up. So you start the prayer, Takbiratul Ihram, this is Rukn, when you are standing, not when you are sitting. You start the prayer standing up, when you do Takbiratul Ihram, the prayer while standing. Mm-hmm. You start reading the Quran, or you are praying behind the Imam is reading the Quran, and then you got tired. It can happen that you got tired, so you sit down, or you can't stand anymore. Mm-hmm. You cannot stand anymore, then you sit down. Now, sitting down, time for Ruku'. Again, if you can do the Ruku' the correct way, you stand up and you do Ruku' the correct way. If you cannot, the right way of doing Ruku' is by just bending your head a little bit down. Subhana Rabbiya al-Azim 3 times. So you are on the chair or even standing, but you cannot bend over like Ruku'. You just bend your head a little bit down and you say Subhana Rabbiya al-Azim 3 times.
So you bend the head only, but not the back.
Not your whole body. Well, if you can bend your back, then you do Ruku' correctly.
Okay.
If you can do Ruku' correctly, then you should do it correctly. Now, for Sujood,
where will be your hand will be when you go into Ruku?
Just a little bit, not too much.
No head, no hand. Hand should be on the knees or
Oh yeah, the hands on the thighs.
On the thighs.
on
The
thigh. Oh.
hands on the thighs.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can show you. So here, basically, your hands will be like this.
Like okay.
And you just bend your head a little bit down. That's for the ruku'.
Mhm. No,
Or-
ruku' I can do standing. Okay.
Yeah, so the ruku', if you can do normally, you should do it normally. In terms of sujood,
Mhm.
and this is where people make mistakes. Some people do sujood, they put their hands in the air, like they're preparing to fly like Superman, mashallah. That's not correct. The proper sujood is exactly like ruku'. You put your hands on the thighs,
Mhm.
but your head, you will put it a little bit lower than the ruku'. But
Yeah.
you don't go all the way down. This is important. That's a mistake. Common people, a lot of people make that mistake. You are sitting on the chair. Again, if you can do sujood correctly, you have to do sujood correctly.
Mhm.
If you cannot do sujood correctly, you have to be sitting on the chair, then you bend over a little bit more than the ruku'. So if the ruku' was like this, the sujood is like that. Just a little bit more. Not all the way to a point that you kind of like, bend over completely.
You'll
That
fall
is the
on the chair.
mistake. If you're
Sheikh,
sitting on the chair. Yeah.
when you say correctly, if you can do it correctly, what's the definition of correctly to you? Like getting down all the way to the
Properly.
ground?
Properly.
Yeah, but with the chair, it's impossible to go all the way down because then you're going to hit somebody in front and you're going to bother their khushu.
He's saying you don't go all the way down. You just go a little
No,
bit.
if you can do sujood properly, then you should put your chair in a way, or you find yourself a spot in the masjid where you're not going to bother anyone. And that's why I have seen many masajid, normally they put the chairs at the back, all the way at the back. So that happens. Normally, most of the time, the people who use the chair cannot do sujood. Most of the time. Sujood is
So-
difficult for them.
So the musalli on the chair doesn't count with the musalli standing?
Yes, he does. But if he
Separate.
needs to do sujood and he's going to take extra room, then we put him somewhere special. If he doesn't, then we can just like anybody else.
Yeah.
So this is a special situation. So that's basically it. Ruku', your hands are on the thighs, you bend your head a little bit down. Sujood, you bend it a little bit more, not all the way down, and your hands will be on the thighs. And everything else is the same, inshallah.
Okay, I have a question. When when Lima says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, do you wait until he finishes and then you?
Yeah, you wait for the imam to finish and then you say salam.
They wait completely until he finishes both sides.
Yes, that's because salam is one thing, not two really. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then you start yours. I have seen
Okay.
people do it right, and then left. It's better to wait until he's done completely.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen people who do right and left before the imam finishes.
Yeah,
Right.
some people can't wait because they have something important at home. Anyway,
About the sujood, I heard a hadith. You can put the fingers must stick out because the fingers must direct to the qiblat. So when we sit on the chair and doing sujood, the fingers, my palms on the knee, but the fingers must stick out. Is it correct?
no, because again, you're not doing sujood. You're not, the fingers will be towards the qibla, and the way you're saying when your head is on the ground. That's what the hadith is talking about, when your head is on the ground. But when you are in sujood, your head is not on the ground. You're only bending a little bit. So that's why. And besides, the fingers are still pointing towards the qibla, even if you put them on the thigh. So the prayer on the chair is different from praying normally. That's why we're saying this.
So
Yeah.
the fingers also stick out to the qiblat, right?
Well, yeah, like I said, on the thighs, but not
On the thighs.
beyond, not beyond the knee.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but they both way they will be towards the qibla either way. Yeah,
Okay.
inshallah. Okay,
And
let's
Sheikh,
go back to
because some people do like this, moving finger like that. No.
not sunnah.
Not sunnah, right?
No, only one time. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
As if people
Ashhadu anna
moving.
Muhammadan Rasulullah. No, this
Yeah,
it's
Sheikh
not
said that's usually when you're beating the shaitan on the head.
right. They say shaitan for some reason put his head under your finger. I don't know why exactly would he do that. So you keep hitting him on his head, and his head is this big too. And subhanallah. Alaikum assalam. It's just superstitions.
I guess it's something to do for them.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I've seen a lot of people do it. But there is nothing authentic about it, really.
Yeah.
Sheikh, thank you for clarifying everything.
You are welcome. No problem. Now, we talked about Arkanus Salah, the pillars of Salah, and we talked about that those Arkanus Salah means you cannot skip any of them, you cannot miss any of them, and if you miss anything, your Salah is invalid. Next, we have Wajibat Salah. Wajibat, a little bit less in ranking, which means you still have to do them, but if you miss by mistake, your Salah is valid. And you can do the Sujood al-Sahw in case you miss something and you're not sure. But if you miss it on purpose, then your Salah is invalid too. So you should not miss it on purpose. If you forget, it's okay.
Okay. This is what again?
Wajibat al-Salah. First, Arkan al-Salah.
Right.
Second, Wajibat al-Salah. So Wajibat al-Salah, if you remember, we said Takbiratul Ihram, the first takbirah, when you start your Salah, Allahu Akbar, this is Rukn. You cannot pray without it. The rest of takbirat are wajib. They're not Rukn. You know, when you go down, you say Allahu Akbar, you stand up, Allahu Akbar, you go down, Allahu Akbar. Between almost every two Rukn, we do takbirah, right? Allahu Akbar. They all are wajibat, except, as we said, the first one, Takbiratul Ihram, is Rukn, which means Takbiratul Ihram, the first one, is the must. The other takbirat, if you forget, your Salah is still valid. So let's say you went down to sujood and you forgot to say Allahu Akbar. Not on purpose. On purpose, again, your Salah is invalid. You forgot, your Salah is valid.
Okay.
So all the takbirat are wajiba except Takbiratul Ihram is Rukn. The second one, saying Sami Allahu liman hamida. Sami Allahu liman hamida is wajib. Again, wajib means you have to do it. If you forget, your Salah is still valid. The third one, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, just like.
Excuse me. If the Imam says Sami Allahu hamida, we have to say it also?
No, you only say Rabbana wa lakal hamd.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. للمأموم فقط. This is only for مأموم, yeah. The one who's praying behind the Imam.
Or if you're
Next
praying
one,
at home.
Yeah, if you're praying at home, you say both.
Yes.
سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا ولك الحمد. You can add حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. This is good. But it's not واجب or rukn. It's just sunnah. Next one, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, at least one time in Ruku'. Again, this is wajib, which means if you forget, not intentionally, your Salah is valid. So you go to Ruku', you forgot for some reason to say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. Or sometimes you mixed up and you say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la in Ruku'. It happens sometimes. Your Salah is still valid because both Subhana Rabbi al-Azim and Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, both of them are wajibat. Again, like I said, wajib, something you should do, but if you forget, your Salah is still correct. The dua between the two sajdas is wajib. So, Rabbi ighfirli, if you don't know the dua, Rabbi ighfirli, warhamni, wa'afini, wajburni, wahduni, warzuqni, you can just say Rabbi ighfirli. That's enough.
It's wajib?
So between, between the two sajdas.
Mhm.
Rabbi ighfirli is enough if you don't know the whole thing.
Sheikh, I have a question. What's wrong with bending down completely your head? You are sitting on the chair and you are in sujood. Why not just bend your head completely forward, down, and say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la?
Because that's not the right way of doing it. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us how to pray on the chair, and that's not what he did.
So just bend down a little bit?
You bend down a little bit only, a little bit more than ruku'. There is a hadith, and he uses the word ima. Ima means a little bit, just a sign of doing sujood and a sign of doing ruku', not to bend over completely. Unless you can do sujood the right way properly, then you should do it just like the Prophet ﷺ said, just a little bit.
No, if I
Yeah.
sit down on the floor because of my knee problems, I cannot get up.
Same thing if you're sitting on the floor, same thing. You just do the Subhana Rabbiyal Azim a little bit, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la a little bit more. If you can do proper sujood, that's good. If you don't know proper sujood, you don't bend over all the way.
Okay. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
You are welcome. Oh, yeah.
So how should somebody sitting on the floor and pray the namaz, salat?
It's like the chair, same thing.
But sitting on the floor, just they don't
It's
get up,
like
but
the
sitting on
chair.
the floor.
Yeah, it's the same ruling as the chair.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
same thing. You are welcome. Now this is important. At-tashahhud al-awwal. You know, in the prayers which are more than 2 rak'ah, basically all of them except for Fajr, there are 2 tashahhuds. So we said tashahhud al-awwal is wajib. Tashahhud al-akhir is rukn, which means tashahhud al-akhir is more important. The last tashahhud, when you are about to finish the salah in your last rak'ah, this is a must. You cannot miss it. If you miss it, your salah is invalid. The first tashahhud, which is in the second rak'ah, that's wajib, which means you have to do it, but if you forget, your salah is valid. One time, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ actually forgot the first tashahhud, and he did sujood al-sahw in the end. So he did not repeat the prayer or anything. So the first tashahhud is wajib, the second tashahhud is rukn. Again, rukn is a must, wajib, you should, and if you forget, is okay. Yes. You can do Sajdah al-sahw in case you have doubt. But sometimes you forget, and you don't even know that you forgot. So you don't do Sajdah al-sahw. You're still okay. Yes, Brother Abdul Jalil.
Sheikh, quick question. So if you were in second rak'ah and we were already standing up, you forgot, then you remembered while standing up that you were supposed to sit down. Did you not go back and then do sujood sawi at the end?
Once you move to the next rukn, you cannot go back anymore. So let's say you are sitting in the second rak'ah, you forgot to do tashahhud, and you stood up for the third rak'ah, and then you remembered, I did not do tashahhud. You can't sit now. You can't go back. You complete your prayer and do sujood al-sahw. And this is an important thing. You cannot go back in prayer. Once you move on to the next step, in case you remembered that you forgot something. Now, if you forgot something which is a rukn, you have to repeat your prayer, because we said rukn, you have to repeat your prayer. If you forgot something which is a wajib, the things that we are doing now, then you complete your prayer and you do sujood al-sahw.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes.
I sometimes think I forget to say 2 sunnah during Isha prayers, and I do witr. Can I, after I finish witr, can I do 2 sunnah again or not?
Normally, witr should be the last thing you do. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But you can still do it. Try your best not to miss it. But yeah, in that scenario, you can, inshallah.
Okay, jazakallah khair.
Wa iyyakum, inshallah.
I thought you're not supposed to pray after witr. No?
It's not haram, it's just not recommended.
Oh,
It's not any makruh. It's not recommended. Tahajjud should be the before witr if you can. Tahajjud and Qiyam al-Layl. Witr should be the last prayer in the night.
Salat
That should be your
al-Sahw.
intention.
Salat al-Sahw is 1 rak'ah, right?
Sujood al-Sahw is 2 sujood. You do 2 sujood once you finish the salah.
يعني
Yeah,
ركعتين.
Sajdatain, not rak'atain. Yani you finish your salah. You don't say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Right.
You go down twice, you do 2 sajdas, and you can do tashahhud and salah al-Ibrahimiyya again, or just say Assalamu alaikum.
That's what
Yeah.
I mean by rak'atain. Okay.
Yeah, sujood. Sajdatain, yeah. So far we talked about arkanus salah, things that are a must, and wajibatus salah, things that are important, but if you don't do, if you remember, you can do sujood al-sahw. If you don't remember, your salah is still valid. Next is sunan al-salah. Sunan meaning this is sunnah. Things that are optional, they will improve your salah. And I strongly recommended these because our salah does not have khushu' to begin with. To be honest, our salah does not really have khushu'. So these sunan will make our salah better, more acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because our salah, if we compare it to the really righteous people and the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our salah is really lacking. So these sunan, even though they are sunnah, but they will purify our salah. They will improve our salah. But if you don't want to do it, it's still sunnah, optional. So sunan al-salah is to raise your hand with a takbir. So Allahu Akbar, that's a sunnah. Takbira, any takbira. Not any takbira really. Allahu Akbar, raising your hand, this is sunnah. When you go to ruku', Allahu Akbar, this is sunnah. Standing from ruku', Allahu Akbar, all that is sunnah. Raf' al-yadayn is sunnah. Not when you go to sujood. From standing to sujood, there is no raf' al-yadayn. Allahu Akbar without raf' al-yadayn. But raf' al-yadayn all the time is sunnah. Starting salah, Allahu Akbar, this is sunnah. Allahu Akbar is sunnah. Anytime you raise your hand in the takbir is sunnah. So you get reward. People argue about Abu Hanifa did not do it. Doesn't matter. You get thawab of sunnah if you do it. You don't get thawab of sunnah if you don't do it. Putting your hands the right on the left when you're reading Surah Al-Fatiha and the other surah is sunnah. Because some people put their hands on the sides. They don't get the thawab of sunnah. Holding your knees with distant fingers in the ruku' is sunnah. You know, when you're doing ruku', you hold your knees with your hands, right? With your grasp, with your fist. So keeping the fingers away from one another is sunnah.
Okay.
Starting salah with dua al-istiftah. You know, subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika, and all the dua al-istiftah is sunnah.
I don't know
Saying,
that.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim is sunnah. Saying Ameen after Surah Al-Fatiha is sunnah. And many people do not do it, by the way. Reading another surah after Surah Al-Fatiha is sunnah. So let's say somebody does not know any surah. He only knows he's a new Muslim or something. He only knows Surah Al-Fatiha. That is fine. It's completely fine. Reading another surah after Surah Al-Fatiha is sunnah. Okay.
What did you say? The دعاء الإقامة? الدعاء شو؟
Istiftah.
الاستفتاح. I don't know it. Maybe you can.
There are many. There is one that you can say وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين. Or the famous one سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. That's the dua al-istiftah. That's you say before Surah Al-Fatiha. It's sunnah. Okay. Now, what are the things that can make your salah invalid? Mubtilatul salah. So we talked about arkan, must be done. Wajibat, should be done. If you forget, it's okay. Sunan, optional, you get reward for doing it. You don't get sin for not doing it, but I believe everybody should do it. And finally, what are the things that will make your salah invalid? What does make your salah invalid? Obviously, if somebody loses his wudu. Anything that makes you lose your wudu, your salah is invalid and you have to start over. But there is something important here. If you find najasa on your thawb, or what you're wearing, and you don't see it during salah, you find it after you have finished, you do not have to repeat the prayer.
Oh, really?
So you prayed and you finished your prayer and everything and you're leaving, and then you realize there is like maybe a spot of blood or something najis, yani, impure. You didn't know. You don't have to repeat the prayer. So this is important. Second, laughing loudly. That breaks your salah. Yeah, you'll be surprised. There are some of the kids, they start laughing like crazy in salah. I don't know why they are laughing.
Even kids can make you laugh also.
Or sometimes the kids can make you laugh. So laughing with sound breaks your prayer. If you smile, is okay. If you smile, just smiling when you're prayer, like something happened that a little funny, smiling is okay.
If you cry?
If you what?
If you cry?
If you cry.
Crying is okay. It means you have khushu', inshallah.
No, he can't be crying because his legs are hurting. Like my friend who went to Taraweeh in the Khatm al-Quran, he said everybody was crying in khushu' and I was crying because my legs were hurting. So that's fine. Crying is allowed. Inshallah.
I have a question. When we read Al-Fatiha is a fardu, right? Fardu. We have to read. But the shaitan will work so hard in Al-Fatiha. So when I read Al-Fatiha, it's not khushu' in Al-Fatiha. And then when I read the surah, it's khushu' because the shaitan works so hard on Al-Fatiha.
Well, if your question, I think, is, can I repeat Surah Al-Fatiha if I did not have khushu'? I think that's your question. I read Surah Al-Fatiha and I did not have khushu'.
Yes.
So can I read it? No, don't read it again. Try the next ruk'ah, inshallah. Do not read Surah Al-Fatiha more than one time. It's not recommended to repeat Surah Al-Fatiha, except if you forgot, I don't know, did I read Surah Al-Fatiha or not? Then you read it. Or you think that you made a mistake in Surah Al-Fatiha, because that can, again, invalidate your prayer. So laughing out loud breaks your prayer. Smiling does not. Smiling, just smiling for a reason. You're not just smiling for no reason. Of course, third is to talk during prayer. To talk to each other, yani. I believe it or not, I have seen a person praying and then somebody calls him on the phone. He picks up the phone, Assalamu alaikum, I am praying, I can't talk to you now. And then he hangs up. Your prayer is invalid.